The Regular Folk Show. Welcome back, everybody. Episode 4 here.
Woo.
Very exciting. We are live. No, we are not live. This
Wow.
is pre-recorded.
Yeah. We're live in our hearts.
We're live in our hearts.
Yeah.
We're live in our hearts. Put up some clips later today. I'm still working through editing episode 2 and 3, so I need to get those up as well. So I'm a little backlogged, but the podcast marches forward. Today's guest, everybody, is Colin Armstrong.
Hi. Hello.
Welcome to the program.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having. Do I shake?
We can shake. We can do a
We'll
shake.
give it for
For the people, you know.
the people.
To confirm that we know each other.
Yeah. We go way back.
We go
To
way back.
A year ago.
To a year ago. That's right. I met Colin at Rutgers through the Rutgers Comedy Club.
Fun stuff.
Fun stuff. He is now co-president, correct?
Yeah,
Or
vice president. Eve really
Eve
runs
is
shit.
president?
I kind of just do
Okay.
what
Vice
I can.
pres.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Rutgers
being
Comedy.
on our show. It was a very
course.
good time. I think it went over very well.
It did, yeah. They put on a little basement show every semester, a little comedy basement show. 6 comedians performed this semester. I was lucky to be one of them. I opened up the show. It was a fun time.
Oh yeah. Got the ball rolling.
Got the ball rolling.
Terrific.
I had a little flash of panic that we weren't there. You know, it's you never know.
Yeah.
I wish there was like a little, red light or
Yeah.
something. There's no red light. It was that kind of panic. You know, the panic where like you just left your place and you're like kind of far away. You're not that far away, and you're like, did I lock the door?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I leave the stove on?
Did I leave the stove on? Right, is the gas on? Something's blowing up. Something is blowing up. Colin, I wanted to talk to you. I know you're a transfer student.
Yes.
So of course that's affected your college experience in a certain sense.
Absolutely.
And then I also want to talk to you further about why does it sometimes feel, or why does it often feel, that community college gets such a bad rap? It's seen so pejoratively. It feels like
So community college gets a bad rap because people are really elitist. The reason I went to community college is because I did horrible in high school. I had like a 2.7 GPA. Like I was terrible. So I got my shit figured out, and then I went to community college. I worked 2 jobs, and I saved a bunch of money, and then I came here, and it was dirt cheap, and I don't have very much debt, But a lot of the thing, too, is it's inexpensive. I think it's very much stigmatized because of people like me who go because they did horrible in high school.
Because they did, but poorly.
But everyone I've met, most of the people I've met in community college are just extremely bright individuals.
Right.
Or parents who
Right.
are going back, and I don't know. It kind of sucks. It's kind of how trade school is stigmatized. In a way,
Yeah.
where you're way better off doing that, but because you're not in college, and they'll never admit it.
Right.
Because every person who I would have been like, I went to community college or I'm in community college, are like, great, that's awesome. Wish I did that. You know, you could sense
it goes up.
Yeah.
Oh!
Oh, wow. Yeah, you can always tell.
Are you Canadian?
Yeah. They're like, what a good idea. Should have did that. I'm in debt. But yeah, I think there's a little bit of elitism in that, which is fine. I'm used to it.
It just seems short-sighted because it seems like a pretty shrewd decision. Like even regardless of the fact that a lot of people there might be there because it did poorly in high school,
Yeah.
they're still saving a lot of money, as you said.
Oh, absolutely,
and
yeah.
the cost of education has only gone up when
if I could do it again, I would do community college.
Same thing.
I
all the way through.
well, no, I mean I would get my associates again.
Okay.
Because I met a lot of really great people, and I learned how to be a good student. And I tutored for a while, writing and humanities, and
That's great.
now I'm doing. I'm on track to graduate with high honors.
Congratulations.
Thanks, man.
It's very exciting.
Try to just flex on you a little bit.
Yeah, no, I like it.
But
I'm a
it's
fan. As
it's,
you should. You should be
well,
proud.
yeah, because I'm proud of myself,
Yeah.
and that's a interesting feeling.
Damn straight.
Yeah,
well,
man.
I think it's a good feeling.
Yeah,
One you should chase.
definitely.
You mentioned trade school also being something that's stigmatized. I think that's true, although I would say I feel like that's changing a little now.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I feel like people are really wising up to the fact that not only do a lot of these jobs, plumbing, electricians, it makes a lot of money, but it's also in high demand. There's so few of these people now because everyone's gone the route of the academic.
Electricians,
or,
especially.
engineer.
There's a shortage of electricians in Jersey.
I've heard about that.
really you even if you're in trade school, you can get an apprenticeship with like a heartbeat and make good money.
Mm.
I have a buddy of mine he's a plumber, or he's a plumber assistant or something, like not full fledged, but he works in plumbing.
Mm-hmm.
He makes bank. He's got his own place and everything.
That's great.
Down here, like you've seen my apartment. I'm just scraping by.
This is a good shot of.
This is the only good shot of my apartment.
It's a hellscape.
He was like, "I'm coming over." I'm like, "I gotta find chairs." Like, it's a nightmare in here.
Yeah, it ain't pretty. It could use some people who went to trade school coming here and spruce it up a little.
Yes, and I'm working 2 jobs and he's making more than me. And it's like it's
also one of those things that's like really difficult to automate just because it's so.
Oh yeah, so and I think it's also like it's been ingrained in us since like for generations. Like,
right.
Like. Not to get all historical or whatever, but
Please
like
do.
fucking college has always been like an avenue for success. So kids, the baby boomers, they would throw their kids in college. I was the only generation that had the privilege of not worrying about getting drafted and shit.
Right.
And they didn't have to like go to work, and they could actually finish high school without worrying about things. They threw them into college, and now it's like, my dad always told me, it's like his dad told him to go stay in school or just be digging ditches. You didn't pay. I'll dig ditches. It's silly.
Don't knock the ditch.
Yeah, man.
Don't knock the ditch.
It is what it is, I guess.
It is. It is what it is. You know who really hates that expression? Mark Norman.
Oh, really?
He's got, and people who say it is what it is.
Yeah. That's I honestly hate it too, but I'm not.
It is what it is.
I'm not. It is what it is. Yeah. I'm not intelligent enough to think of something good to say. That's Gary Goldman has a bit like that, where he's like, he hates when people say those like catch-all BL phrases, like at the end of the day.
I listened to the thing that you recommended. Good one. It's another great podcast after the radio show.
I don't shut up about 2 things in comedy, and it's that podcast and the comedian Gary Goldman.
And Gary Goldman.
I plug him. I don't even know him. I've never met him. I've never been to any of his shows. I would love to, but he is a goddamn genius. Follow him on Twitter. Yeah. He's tweeting out tips for comics. Yeah. He seems like a lovely individual.
Yeah. Seems like a saint.
He's a goddamn saint. Yeah, and he's so funny and smart and like just well written comedy.
He is really great.
Just fantastic.
He is amazing.
Yeah.
Goldman, baby. Yeah, Good One. Good One is a great podcast. Colin showed it to me. Gary Goldman was on talking about his Trader Joe's bit.
The 20-minute long bit about his time at Trader Joe's. Yeah.
Who knew Trader Joe's is so ripe with comedy?
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, I thought it was just Haas avocados.
Well, that's the thing. It's like he taps into just something. And it's not like, because I feel like every comic is just like talking about things they hate, but he's like, I love Trader Joe's. Right. I hate the people that shop in it. You know? It's like, so he has like 10 minutes of just how much he loves the store. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot to love there too.
Oh yeah. I mean, this particular TJ's where I trade, that's a great line.
And I know the Trader Joe's too that he's talking
about. Really? Yeah. I always forget you live in the city.
Yeah.
Went to that bar and I saw your ID. I was like, where the fuck are you from?
Wait, which? Oh, we went to.
I forgot which one. But I saw you like give your ID.
You're like, that's not a Jersey.
Yeah. Where are you? Who are you?
I'm an alien. So you were actually, I had Colin and I had another mutual friend of ours, Christopher Michael, on the original pilot of the Regular Folk Show. Couldn't be used.
We ruined it.
They ruined it. They tanked the podcast. I memeed, granted, the audio and visual quality was poor. It was low.
He had like a whole bunch of questions and we're like, fuck your questions.
They just wanted to do whatever they wanted to do.
Yeah, that was great.
It was a good time. It was a lot of fun.
Release the footage.
I deleted it.
No! We demand to know what you're stifling.
Yeah, honestly, if I release that, you might not ever get hired anywhere.
Yeah. Not that I will anyway. I'm a history major.
Exactly. So. There we go. I'm just going to teach history.
Should have went to trade school.
That's a good callback right there.
2-minute.
2-minute callback. Any callback kind of counts. Gary Goldman was talking actually in that good one about how he thinks like the callback's overrated or something.
Well, because I think when he was like,
I love the callback though.
In like the height of the boom, callbacks were amazing. Like every famous comedian in their special they have callbacks.
Yeah, I mean, it's a classic part of
Mulaney, CK, all of them. They always do fucking callbacks, and but it's getting kind of out. overdone, and but it's a good tool. It's a good tool. Like I've been learning that in stand up, there's a lot of like comedic mechanisms you can use to like make something funny. You know, like I was just talking to some other comics and here about how whenever you're at an open mic, and you shouldn't use this for your shows, but it's a good thing if you don't like the dead space, which I don't mind, but a lot of people do.
Right.
Is if you're at an open mic and you say a joke and it doesn't go well, you can just be like, "Welp," and you like tag it, and then it almost always gets a laugh because it makes it real in a way. Because it's like, oh, you're acknowledging that you fucked up. It's like, so it's like you could like, but there's all these different mechanisms that comics will use. Well, like callbacks or crowd work or just classic misdirection joke structure.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing at all. It's
Gallman wasn't a fan. I was.
No.
Which I didn't agree with him on because I love him.
You like the callback?
I love a callback.
Yeah, I feel that's
feels
also
it feels like it ties everything together.
That's the thing, right? It's like that. This is stuff that only comedians notice.
Kind of.
Like,
I guess that's true.
Well, I mean, in a way where it's like people who are just talking about like comedy theory every day, all day. It's like. If I showed my dad a special or like 20-minute bit and then ended with a callback, he'd probably like it because he's not a comedian or like anybody else. But if you show someone who's been like in the scene or even like just true like comedy nerds, they might feel different. But
because it's a little tired.
Yeah, but most audiences aren't like super into comedy.
It's true.
Which I think we all forget about.
I think that is true. I don't know. I think people are perceptive of it though.
Like, I'm not trying to say they're idiots, but like
not even in terms of idiots, but like it's true they might not know that it's like a tool being used, but they definitely like something about it feels right. It's like ooh, like I like because sometimes when people hear comedy, they're like it was funny, but just felt like a lot of different ideas. Like so they were just giving me like different premises, different jokes every 40 seconds. Yeah. A la, me.
Well, that's also a thing too, where it's like
right.
So like a lot of people will see like like the greats and they make it look easy. That's like the best kind of comedian is where it's not like they're not even trying. They're just talking off of the dome and really they know everything that's about to happen.
Right. They know all the turns, even though it seems so natural.
Yeah. So like, like and I'm every comic's guilty of it. I do stuff. I do this thing that a lot of comics will do where like I introduce something and then I'll go on a tangent and then I'll just kind of let them sit in it for like it should be like a 2-minute joke, but because I'm going on these tangents it turns into like a 5 or 7 minute joke.
Right. And
I'll like sit in it and then I'll literally it's like a callback in a way where I'll be like, all right, let's get back to this, and then that's funny because they forgot about it.
Right. And like I thought we were talking about something else.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and a lot of comics do that, and it's it's just a mechanism. It's just kind of like a tool that every comedian will either do or be over after a while or keep in their act. It's
We kind of have them in other forms of entertainment or quote unquote media as well. Like I don't know, like in a book where like you're like figuring something out, or like a TV show. Like I feel like the audience is used to like having to do some sort of solving, like a little bit of a puzzle almost sometimes. I mean, not necessarily as much for comedy as say a book or a TV show or something like that.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And that's sort of the beauty of that.
Right.
Of that this aspect of entertainment where it's like any other leisure, it's crafted in like private with like a bunch of other people who are trying to work on it, or even if it's a book, you're showing your editor and you're doing it.
Right.
But it's like comedy, you're going to open mics and you're saying a joke about like your dick or something or whatever hack premise you have. And
sure.
I have. And,
banana.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, you're going to bomb. You're going to bomb like 100 times before it's funny.
But if you use the callback.
Oh, I got meta if we call back a callback.
Callback. That's what I'm talking about.
Nice.
All right. I feel like that was a nice intro. We are at 15 minutes, which is when I like to do our famous now quotes section.
Oh.
Big quote section. I'm going to hit Colin with 2 quotes. He's going to guess who said these quotes, and then we'll do a little discussion.
Cool.
Usually I do one lighter quote up top, one heavier quote. Today I went with 2 kind of a little more existential quotes.
Oh boy.
But I think Colin's the right partner for this kind of conversation. So here we go.
Let's hear it.
Here's the first one. Okay. I know many of you will feel uncomfortable when I say this, but the hippies created the police as much as the police create the hippies.
Nixon.
Ramdas. American, spiritualist, thinker. Previously was a clinical psychologist. He's 88 years old, lives in California.
Never even heard of him.
Interesting guy. There's a good GQ exposition on him. The quote though, how do you feel about that? You think that's true?
Hippies created the police as much as the police created the hippies.
Yeah.
Well, I think the hippie movement, or the beatnik movement,
Right.
prior,
That led into it, right?
I think culture reacts to institutions.
Mm.
I think that, it's kind of interesting that we were talking about this earlier without even knowing the quote, but like, in the when did the Vietnam War end? Like 75, 73 or whatever.
I think so.
That generation is the first generation by and large to react and feel disinterested and distrustful of their government in a mass quantity. Like I'm almost certain that's one of the first like massive countercultures that wasn't stifled by the government, and it was emboldened by media coverage and
right.
journalism with an urgency for truth.
Right.
So I think I really do think that I don't know if I'd agree with it, because I mean in certain aspects, but I really feel as if culture is a reactionary kind of an organically reactionary kind of thing, and if you're living in it, you can feel it. Like,
so the hippies don't really create the police so much as the police create the hippies, or really more the government. I mean, because the police are the police an institution? Are they an arm of the government?
They're
here to serve and protect.
They're really bureaucrats with bureaucrats with guns. I would argue they're absolutely. I don't think I have to argue it. I think they're absolutely a branch of government institution. Yeah,
government.
And they're told to look at things and
uphold the law.
And to uphold the law. They really can't have that gray area.
Right.
I always wonder how often these police
brutality videos.
Well, I often wonder how, like, you ever see like movements where like there's a protest and the police have to protect, or not protect, but like stifle it.
Yeah.
I often wonder how many of those policemen are like, I don't necessarily believe in what I'm doing.
Right, I'm doing here, right.
And I have to
tear gassing civilians.
Yeah,
It's like...
and it makes me wonder. It's like that sucks if you don't believe in something and you literally have, it's your job to suppress people. And I'm just talking strictly in forms of protests. And I know I have a few friends of mine who are policemen, and I don't think there's anything wrong with going that avenue, but it really, I don't know. I feel like you put yourself in a box as to what your values are, specifically, not like you're not a humanitarian if you're a cop or whatever, but it's like you have to uphold certain aspects of the law.
Right.
And it's kind of a bummer when I really think about it. Yeah.
They can't really be a part of. They're a part of the culture, but they're not a part of the counterculture. They're not part of the. They're conservative, essentially. They're trying to keep things as they are.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. It's like they have to be. Like
right.
A buddy of mine is he's a registered Democrat. I don't want to say that Democrats can't be conservative, but
right.
It's almost like you can't. I don't think you can. It's not that you can't be. You have to be conservative, but I feel as if you almost can't be liberal if you're a police officer, just because the waves of liberalism, not necessarily like neoliberalism, just like the idea of being liberal in general is just almost always associated with like a fuck the man mentality. And if you're a cop, you're like the man, or at least you're an extension of the man that has to enforce it. And it's it's interesting how you really sort of can't be as free thinking and open minded if you take that avenue.
Yeah, you can't fight and keep the status quo.
Yeah.
So what about, the hippies, that's kind of long gone. What do we see as now the current hippie movement, because it seems like the institutions. I mean, I think there could be a case to be made that they've become more oppressive, more intrusive.
Oh, absolutely. I think
we don't see souped up hippies.
I think we're in a position right now in our culture where there's many different groups who are all fighting for this hegemonic control of our culture. Like almost every group. I think you can categorize the groups that are in America right now as like the right, the new alternative right, the neoliberal left, like the remnants of the neoliberal Democrats, the Democratic Socialists, and like the
super progressives.
Yeah, and like and then the staunch traditional conservative Republicans.
Right.
And I feel as if they're all kind of competing for what their like narrative is. And I don't think you can necessarily trace it to like where the hippies are, because they all had kids and shit, like it's all sporadic. There's so many different narratives being proponed right now where it's like I don't necessarily think you can pinpoint, and the internet makes it fucking 10 times worse. Where it's like, so it's just
our trap rappers, the hippies, in a certain sense.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. I haven't thought about that.
And you talk about a quest for hegemonic control. I do agree, although it seems like the neoliberals and the classic conservatives are, maybe it's just the way I'm perceiving it, but it really seems like those have lost their control, and the control is increasingly going to the further stratified parts of the spectrum.
It's interesting. If you want to talk in terms of political control, I absolutely agree.
Right.
But it's so odd where, like, in the mainstream media, that's what's being reported as, like, the traditional... Because that's who's watching it. It's like I don't tune into Fox News or CNN, at night at like 7.
No, you don't.
And the interesting thing is, it's like the mainstream ones, and then the alt-right and the Democratic Socialists. These are young movements. They're all collaborating online. So the mainstream media is just reporting on like the explosions that happened from the like Pizzagate and shit. They're just coming on these like explosions, and then it leaves the traditional people is like, all these damn kids, and it's doing it's like this hippie movement all over again in a way. It's so fascinating. But to go back to the initial question, I really don't think you can pinpoint like it to the hippies or the idea of the hippies to like one conglomerate, because within the online like liberal left culture, there's all these like splintering like avenues, and there's all these different people. It's like there isn't one hegemony in these groups anymore. It's so clustered with like this era of like information we're living in, where everyone has a say.
So who are the moving more to the cultural? Who are the cultural groups? I brought up trap rappers, maybe vegans.
So it's...
there's some intersection between that, because...
By cultural groups, do you mean like the figures in a way who are sort of like weaving their own narratives into culture? Or?
In a certain sense, maybe the groups as a whole, the groups as a whole, and they're really groups just because that's how people identify, and they hoist that label, or it gets hoisted upon them, but that are trying to establish a certain sense of control. You think about trap rap, it's by far the most listened to genre by the hippies of our in terms of age, the young people, because we're the quote unquote. The hippies were young. They weren't 50 years old.
Yeah,
they were kids in not necessarily in college, but some of them were in college. But they were out there.
I think if you want to go down that route, I think that musicians are almost never controlling what the culture is. I always feel as if they're almost reporting on it, if that makes sense. Like they're immersed in it and they're living in it, and then they make art that is a reflection of it.
Right.
You know what I
mean?
And
of the specific moment.
Yeah, like look at
timestamps.
Exactly. Like look at this might be a terrible example, but look at like Lil Nas X, like
the Old Town Road guy. Yeah.
I don't know what his intentions were. Maybe he just found a twangy trappy.
Take my horn.
Yeah, man. But that song slaps. Like it's so good.
Great song. Love that song.
And I'm not saying that's like he's reporting on. I'm not saying it has any bigger message. But what I'm saying is, it's interesting how he just put that out there, and then people reacted to that in a way.
Well, even further, it's actually interesting going to your point. He put that out there initially, and the institutions pushed back. They were like, it's not country enough. And then he was like, okay, I'm getting Billy Ray Cyrus on this beat.
And it's so I don't know necessarily if it was him. I certainly think that it was a reactionary thing where like that this is kind of where he's at right now, and anybody can put anything out, and anybody can produce things now with software. They can get any software they want, and I think that he just put that out there and it caught on, and it just it's kind of beautiful in a way where it's like you don't need capital to actually do anything anymore. It's pretty beautiful, and this kind of goes back to what you were saying where. Who's in control? I don't think anyone's in control.
Right.
There used to be a time where you needed
the institution.
You needed the support of the institutions, and you needed capital to sway culture, and you needed the support of institutions. Those two things are out the window now.
Right.
You can make your own narrative with your own talk show on your own fucking podcast. You can do whatever you want, and if people like it, then that's a narrative that you can weave into things.
It's true. Okay. I like that. That was strong. This clip's gonna go viral. Okay, second quote here. It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society.
Huh.
Who do you think said that?
I'm not sure. Is it someone like famous or someone that's obscure that I wouldn't really necessarily know?
I don't think you'd probably know him. It's Jiddu Krishnamurti, who's an Indian philosopher.
No idea. I wish I did philosophy.
I did not actually hear him through my philosophy degree, but I definitely. I mean, I'm a big proponent of philosophy.
That's.
I'll repeat the quote. I agree.
Yeah, that's why I like poli sci. There's a lot of philosophy in it.
There is, certainly. Yeah. I'll repeat the quote. It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society.
What is he speaking in terms of like?
I think he's speaking in terms of like people being, day to day, just being blasé about the fact that. Many different aspects, whether it be the society, the person down the street who's struggling and who's always struggled and is always on that street corner, or even, across the world, bombings and starvation.
That quote makes me think of class a lot. I feel like he used the word. Did he use the word symptom in that? Is that
you go for it. Second quote right there. There's no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society.
Yeah, I think that really makes me think of how we're definitely I don't necessarily know if we're more mentally ill than we were or if it's more reported. But I think that like the common denominator in all of this is like our just complete cynicism for like corporate America, which is deserved. Absolutely.
That's right.
And the fact that everyone is seeing everyone else's life.
Right. Social media. There's a lot of desensitizing. So it's just like, why am I supposed to care about it?
And I at the risk of sounding like every other goddamn millennial, where it's like, I don't want a 9 to 5, like I really do think that it's absolutely warranted for people to be feeling just terrible.
Right.
Like everyone just feels awful. Like all of the time.
To do a callback, even Gary Goldman had depression. He was talking about that.
His tour right now, it's called The Great Depression.
The Great Depression.
He had to take like a year and a half off from comedy because he just felt sick. Like it's definitely a phenomenon, and I would love to see some sort of reports, or I think it's too early to say definitively, but because social media and human history is such a new thing.
So young.
And also we're living in a time of we're in this technology renaissance where it could be any other infinitesimal variables that are acting towards what is making us all so sick. It could be something in the water that we don't even know. Like but I think that's the general conclusion that a lot of people are coming to. It's that we're all just so tired of it. Like
we're well adjusted.
Yeah, and we're well adjusted, but we're just sick of it. Like I'm so sick of like looking at looking at my phone and getting a message and then pretending I didn't see it. You ever do? I'm just so tired of being like, I gotta play this game, like these like arbitrary rules that no one made, but I feel like I gotta I'm just so fucking tired of it. You know, like
I know what you mean.
And it's like everyone like will post like how, you know, their day, or I'm at a party or whatever, and it's like, and then it's like, when I was younger, I felt like I had to do this too, or else I was like missing out on some sort of like phenomenon. I was missing, or people would think I'm a fucking loser. And then once you get older, you realize you don't care. And I'm 22. I'm not fucking, you know, I'm not old, but it's like, I don't know. I just feel like there's definitely something there, and I'll read like narratives from like the 50s, even like fictional narratives or just you know, journal entries or diary entries, and that the fear of like FOMO, you know, fear of missing out, that's a relevant thing. That's like something, but the difference is they didn't know exactly what was happening. Right. It's like you're at this event, but you're not at all, and that sucks. You know.
Yeah, we are so aware of what we're missing now.
Yeah, it's really, and I think, I don't know, it definitely is a culmination of like, or definitely it definitely seeps into like everything we do, like dating and like just intimate relations and friendships and like just jobs and everything. I don't know. I don't have the answer, but I do like that quote. I'm gonna look him up. Yeah,
definitely do. I don't really know him that well. When I looked him up, he was another person that came along with him was Osho, the guy, the guru cult leader from the Netflix documentary Wild Wild Country.
Oh, cool.
In the 80s, just fantastic. Definitely check that out.
I will.
It's mind blowing documentary. But he was a little twisted, Osho. I hope Krishnamurti is clean in light of the fact that I just used his quote. The only thing about the quote, though, and I think you agreed with the implicit assumption that it makes, which is at the end, you know, this phrasing, a profoundly sick society. You know, so it's working under the assumption that the society is sick.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, what you were saying would be, you know, would tap into that and would go alongside with it. But maybe this society isn't so sick. Maybe our perception of the society is that it's sicker than it's ever been, but in reality, it could be something else. It could be the society could be better than it's ever been. You know, the greatest possible world at the greatest possible time. You know, bringing a little Voltaire.
That's an interesting point. It makes me think of how apparently, crime in America is at an all-time low.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think that if you opened your phone or you turned on the news.
Crime or maybe violence?
Crime.
Crime is at an all-time low.
Yeah, like all across the board. So I've heard. I haven't
I feel like I've heard that
actually read any, looked into the specifics of these statistics, but I've heard over the past few years from like government institutions that crime is at an all-time low comparative to. And I guess you know, look at New York a few decades ago compared to now. Woo. Not that New York is like the end all be all, but it's a pretty important city.
Yeah, no.
And crime has gone down
significantly.
But I generally wouldn't think that if from listening to news pundits or listening to, you know, the radio or going on my phone, because I feel like everyone's always kind of, you know, reporting on the horrible. Right. And it makes sense because, you know, it's what it's catchy. Journalism's transformed because it's more, what matters more is about going on the page and looking at these ads instead of actually go. You ever open an article and it's like you're reading it and then it's like you gotta slide down like 6 ads to get to the rest of the article.
Or you gotta keep going to the next page, like they put it over 10 pages. Yeah, it's like I'm not reading this.
And you gotta get the little X to get it's a nightmare. But that's an interesting point. It makes me think of how, you know, if something isn't propped in front of us, we won't even know it. Like, the world is beautiful.
I like to think so. It's a gorgeous day, I'd say.
You ever? Yeah, we're in like fucking shitty apartment. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. When you came here today, I like to just sit on that stoop and fucking look at people because it's funny.
People watching.
Because they don't notice me looking at them, and I'm just like, look at you. And it's not like in an angry, but sometimes they'll see a dog and I'm like, hello there. I just like, it's just funny when people are they're living their lives and I'm just sitting here on a stoop with a beer, kind of just looking at them.
Well, you're tuning in, you know?
Yeah,
like, it's
cool.
not, you don't need your phone, you know? It's not, it's just life.
There's always a need to, like, do something.
Right. You can just be.
Yeah, which I don't do nearly enough. I wish I wish I did. I wish I had the discipline to just be like, I'm going to do nothing.
Yeah.
But even people looking is something, you know?
Yeah. Right. Well, I mean, I think the people looking works into, like, the doing, quote-unquote, doing nothing.
True.
But I would, instead of phrasing it as doing nothing, I would say it's, like, literally just being, like, existence. Like,
I did this the other day. I was just kind of in, like, a really, like, odd mood. And I got some looks, and it was kind of funny. You should try this. Go to a coffee shop.
Okay.
Get your coffee, and just fucking do nothing. Don't look at it. Just stare like this.
And I'll
sometimes drink, but just do this.
Like at a wall or...
People fucking look at you weird. It's kind of fun. I did this at Starbucks the other day, and like I noticed the guy like reading his book, but he wasn't turning a page. Like
right.
he was
looking at you.
He was just looking at me. He was just like what's this guy doing? And I'm just like I'm nodding. I'm not making any faces. I'm just like this.
Start foaming.
Just like yeah. He gave me the look like he thought I was gonna bite his neck or something. And I was just looking at nothing, and it's interesting how always having to be doing something leisurely is like a part of our life, and it always has been. I'm not saying it's a symptom of social media,
right?
But always needing impulsively to be doing something is
right.
What it is to be human now. It's interesting.
Right. Anyway, I mean that coincides with. I mean, you were talking about mental illness before, but I mean it also coincides with the rise of other things like ADHD or. You know, all this constant, you know, the attention spans are so low. I just need to be fidgeting with something.
Yeah. And this has always been, like, this has been...
True.
I'm not saying this is a new thing. This
right.
has been...
But maybe the wave is rising, perhaps.
Yeah. This is fucking... Like, Socrates writes about how, like... There's a quote, like, literacy, like, actually, like, reading and writing is a symptom of a greater issue. You probably...
I don't know that quote. I didn't do too much of the ancients, but...
That could also be some bullshit article I saw on Facebook. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe you don't know. We don't know.
Truth is a relative term. I have no fucking idea. I have no idea anymore.
No idea. Okay, very nice. I thought that was an excellent quote section.
That's a cool, fun little game. I like that.
Yeah, I like I'm a fan of quotes. Usually goes over well with the guests. I try to find something that I think will pair well, but I don't know. I feel like most quotes usually bring something out of people if they're decent. But if they weren't decent, they wouldn't have been spliced down to a quote.
Right.
So you are becoming a senior. You'll be a senior next year. How does that feel? How do you feel about your time in college so far? Do you feel like you've done everything you've wanted to do?
I feel like I'm kind of just, getting too old for it.
No, yeah?
Yeah, because I spent a lot of time in community college trying to learn all the stuff I haven't learned. So I was there for like 2.5 or 3 years or something like that. And I was working. I was part-time for my first year because, like, literally, like, remedial. Like, I had to learn things I didn't learn.
Yeah.
And I was working a bunch of jobs, and then I started tutoring, which was cool because I got good at stuff, like, really quickly.
Right.
And then, and so I don't know. I like it. I feel like I'm not trying to chase anything. I'm just kind of letting things happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to be open to new things.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm gonna definitely try to do this summer.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know. I used to try to like chase this like college experience when I was in. I would like go to my friends' like I had a buddy at Rampo after you. Keene. I would just go to like their. I would just go to their parties.
Campuses.
Get drunk and sleep on their couch, but.
Right.
I don't know. I'm kind of just letting things happen.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily have an answer of how it feels to be becoming a senior.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to meet as many people and go to school and do well and do podcasts in my room. I don't know.
There you go. No, I mean that's fair. I mean I think that's a good outlook to have. I was wondering. I mean, I think you mentioned you don't really feel like you need to chase this the quote unquote college life, which I think is good because. That's not really the life for everybody, nor really should it be a life. It's kind of just seems to be a stereotype sort of what college is or what college is supposed to be. But I don't know, maybe anything Rutgers. It could be Rutgers. Yeah, maybe Rutgers specific. Like do you want to go? Is there any like I don't know when when I first came to college, things that I was like, I'm gonna go to every building on campus. Like, I'm gonna go to the roof of all these buildings. Like, I wanna see every gym. Like, I just wanted to see it all.
Yeah.
And now looking back, I mean, I feel like I did a pretty good job of seeing a lot of things. Of course, there was, those opportunities that I didn't take or things I didn't do, but I think you just sort of have to be satisfied with your college experience. Otherwise, you put too much pressure on it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because it's really sold to us at a young age, like these show, like,
right.
Even like back in the day, like Animal House,
Euro Trip, Euro
Trip.
No, I know what you mean.
Like Blue Mountain State. It's sold to us about what we should be doing,
right.
But the truth is, you do what is interesting to you,
right?
And if drinking is your value, everyone's gonna party. Like it's not. You don't have to be a fraternity athlete or be in a frat.
Right.
If you want to, unless you're trying to have some like drinking.
Very specific.
You would know, Mr. What's that?
A-Pie.
Chico State Fall Rush.
Yeah. This is from when I was in Chico last semester. Yeah, I did join a fraternity.
Yeah.
For me, the community was what drew me in to it. I mean, definitely, it's fun to drink as well. But it's interesting. Like, it's funny that drinking is seen as like overall the college thing.
Yeah,
it's just like people like adults drink. Like you drank before college. Like you're gonna drink after college.
Absolutely. It's interesting how that's the case. And
keg.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel it's so. I always get weirded out when I see people who are like actively trying to like be what that college archetype is. That's always like kind of just makes me feel gross for them.
Yeah.
And
it feels like they're faking something.
It's all like it feels like a like a politician trying to present an image. It's just kind of it's just weird. I don't like it.
But I definitely have met people who, it's not like it's their sole thing to do, but they like really just like they're really into the party.
Absolutely, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No, and it also feels like it kind of makes sense. Like we go back to a different time, just like youth were more reckless. Like this was the age, or even when we were a little bit younger than this, to like just be going outside, experiencing the world for yourself, making mistakes, drinking too much, that kind of thing. Like
I can't tell if like Gen Z and millennial. I don't know what I am. I have no idea anymore. I thought I was millennial, and then some asshole said I wasn't.
Said you were Gen Z?
Yeah.
When were you born?
96.
Yeah, I was born in 96 also. We count as a millennial, basically.
Well, but like, because
if
you Google it, it's like, it's a whole thing. I forgot what I was saying.
Yeah.
Wait, what were we talking about?
We're talking about college experience and. That's it. Nothing so much pressure on it.
I always feel like it's just kind of. Oh, I had a thing. I forgot what I was gonna say.
I'm sorry.
No, I mean I interrupted myself. I do this all the time.
Becoming a senior, the Rutgers things, college experiences in general, the drinking, it's like being young and reckless.
Oh yeah. So I don't know
good
if our good guys. Okay. The triple call. I'm gonna forget again. But I don't know if our generation is more hopeful or and stupid or more pragmatic and realistic. I can't tell.
Hopeful and stupid or more pragmatic and realistic.
Because I feel there's a time where like a majority of people are like, I'm gonna travel or I'm gonna be a musician. But now there's still people like that, except they're. I don't know. I feel like we're getting to a point where it's like we can do both, where our parents are putting us in college or making us go to college to get a job, but really we have like this passion that we all want to do.
You can be young and dumb and explore some fun things, but you should still have a LinkedIn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's literally. I think that's kind of what's happening because people are realizing that. All or nothing mentality is very dumb,
Right, but then again, and this is something a fellow friend of ours said in a mini documentary that a different friend of ours made, and I'm talking about the John Lerman mini doc.
Yes, that was a good. That was very good work.
That was very good.
That was a really good idea.
Yeah, he did a great job.
Shout out to Lerman.
Shout out to Lerman, my previous guest. His clips will be.
Oh really?
Yeah. I did him episode 3.
Love that guy.
Camera died a little earlier, but the point I was making, he had Akash on the documentary, a comedian friend of ours. And who's also on Bite Size Comedy. And got to do the cross-section plug. Akash was talking about this idea, the thing that I just said of, being young and dumb and exploring fun things and also having LinkedIn. But in some ways that can be a detriment to the really, truly being young and dumb and chasing after things you really love and trying to be great at them, because you're also in the back of your mind telling yourself that, if this doesn't work out, like I have the LinkedIn, I have the summer internship, and, it just creates, you don't really have the full drive.
I think, I don't buy that necessarily. I think comedy, because Akash is a comedian.
Right. That was a comedy. His art was the comedy.
I feel like comedy is, and I do comedy too, that's something that's so special where, almost working that dead-end job is fuel. Mm-hmm. For your jokes,
right?
Like
passion.
A lot of my favorite jokes have come from me just fucking sitting there and just like, this sucks, and just trying to like escape what I'm doing.
Right.
Or I see something that's funny, or I see something that could be funny, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna write on that,
Right.
And every comic that one of Bill Burr's most famous bits is about like the time when he worked in an office.
Right.
In the cubicle.
You working in?
Melania's bits about when he worked in temp. He had in 2 of his specials he has like 15 minutes about when he worked as a temp in a temp agency. So I don't know, but I do see what he's saying. I was expecting that documentary to be like a lot of. I was expecting it when I heard, because he advertised it for people who are in a situation where they're immigrant, or they have immigrant parents, right, who force them to go to college or heavily or very much so wanted them to go to college. Mm. And I was expecting the parents to be not supportive, but I think it was 4 people. It was Iro, Akash, Madhu, and someone else.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure every single one of them, the parents were super supportive, they said, which is so nice to see.
Yeah, great.
I love that. Yeah, I was expecting it to go differently, just because, and maybe that's just the story that I've been sold.
Usually, right, that the parents are just like beating the kids into submission to study. And
and because I was expecting, my parents found out I did comedy recently, and I was expecting them to be like, well, make sure school comes first and shit like that. I'm like, oh, this is great, you're funny, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I like this. And they went to one of my shows, cool.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting them to. I was expecting them to be like, yeah, do what you want to do, but school, they're like they're not pragmatic at all. They're like, you should do it. I'm like, what the fuck?
That's great. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, man, it's cool.
Supportive parents, and they're tapping into the idea that this is the time to.
It's beautiful. I love seeing. Yeah. I love that. I love seeing that stuff.
I do love to see. That's fantastic.
And that's why I love the documentary so much, because everyone. It was such a good idea.
It was very good.
Well shot, well made, and everyone was just really. It felt like a nice space.
Yeah, a good length too.
Yeah, but not 9,
solid. 10 minutes.
I liked it. Yeah.
Okay. Wrapping up here, episode 4. Talk about Game of Thrones. Have you seen the latest episode? Do you watch?
Yeah, I watch.
I just watched it right before the podcast.
Does that fuck up your whole question if I didn't watch? Did you have a backup?
Yeah, well, I was just going to talk about sort of the I was going to talk about this regardless, but just Game of Thrones and the cultural impact, the fact that it's the show basically now.
I watch. Yeah, I
watch.
I dabble. That's one of the few things like my dad and my brother and I all have in common is Game of Thrones.
Oh, that's nice.
So like we try to. I'm here, so I can't go and watch with them every Sunday. But like Easter, I was more excited to watch
Game of Thrones
with my folks, with my dad and my brother than actually like seeing everybody else. I wanted to I love that. We get like special like Game of Thrones beers from Home Gang, and it's a fun time. Yeah.
No Game of Thrones eggs.
No, none of that. No. I haven't painted eggs in a while.
Yeah.
Thank God. What was it? I never liked that. Yeah, I never got that. It's like hard-boiled eggs are like just weird, and you paint on them. I don't get it. That's such a weird thing.
It always baffled me, but I'm not Christian. So.
Yeah, I was about to say you're Jewish.
I'm
so
Jewish.
like,
yes.
how does that look? Because that
seems odd, but I mean the Jews have plenty of weird things
that's
every
true.
day, so every religion's got their.
That's a good point. But it's not even religious. It's just like
right.
they're just like fucking eggs, whatever. Just.
Well, I don't even know. Like, it's just a total tradition that has no basis in the.
Nothing. There's no religion.
Just someone started painting eggs
the
on.
bunny, the all that is nothing rooted in religion.
So okay, so it kind of.
I don't think. I should know. I went to a Catholic school.
But not when you say not rooted in religion, you mean not rooted in like the text. It's
no,
not...
that's all like Hallmark shit.
Okay.
It's
Jesus, all corporate.
Yeah, it's not like Jesus because he rose from the dead. That was his thing. It's not like he was like, oh, cool, a bunny, and then someone went with it. Literally, it was like I don't know, because every holiday in America like is derived from just culture and like people just picking and prodding and then the culture's like, oh, that's cool, and then everything. I have no fucking idea what happened with this. I don't know the story. I don't know. Maybe Peter. I have no fucking clue.
No idea.
I genuinely think they're like, we need something to sell, and they just went with it. Like I have no idea.
Interesting.
Maybe it's the colors. I have no idea.
I would have assumed it was some like Christian theologians who like years after.
It might be, but like
something.
I don't know, because for Christians, Easter's the most important holiday.
Right. More so than Christmas.
More so. That's what I've been told by
really
by priests. Like that's the most important holiday for the Catholics.
Well, I feel like there must be something there then.
Yeah, but it's like like we're not.
Well, yeah.
Everyone, it's like you go to mass and then that's I never.
It.
But my folks
you paint
never.
Eggs.
But that's it. There's nothing else.
You do a hunt. You hunt for the eggs, no?
Oh yeah, but that's not even religious either.
Yeah,
There's nothing there.
Yeah,
it's just celebrating. You're just celebrating this dude who's a zombie, and he's like, "Look at my holes," you know. Like that's it. There's nothing else. It's so weird.
That's got to be the most loving portrait of Jesus as a zombie.
Well, it's kind of true. He wrote. And I don't like zombie stuff or whatever.
It'd be a good bit.
But yeah, Game of Thrones is good.
Yeah, Game of Thrones, good callback.
I don't. Yeah, I like it because it's cool to see a bunch of people just geek out.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Like, because I was a hardcore nerd. I always wanted to do, like, D&D, and I played, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! And shit, and people were like, oh, what are you little bitch? I'm like, oh, sorry. But it's neat, and I was just super into computers growing up and everything. And, I don't know. I just think it's cool that, like, this, like, nerd culture is super popular now. Like, I'm really happy that kids aren't getting bullied for liking this stuff because it's so cool.
It is cool.
Like comic books, like Spider-Man, Iron Man,
right?
All like superheroes,
so big, right?
And fucking knights and dragons and stuff and incest. No, I'm kidding. But like,
hey now,
the jokes, the show's super incesty.
It does have.
But all this stuff is like really popular, and I'm just really happy that people. I would hope so. I'm really happy that kids aren't getting like 1980s shoved in the lockers because they actually like this stuff.
Well, that's not happening really at all because everyone's so desensitized.
I hope so.
Who knows? I don't know what it's like in middle school right now.
My mother's a teacher. It's a nightmare.
Yeah. I bet the kids are still wild.
I'm just happy that if there's anything, because it's such a stupid thing for people to be bullied for.
Certainly.
It's like
such good content.
Because I remember someone made fun of me because I was really into I forget what it was. It might have been. I think it was like a Super Nintendo game or something like that. Mm. And when I was in like high school, it was like Xbox 360. And I'm like, just fucking play it. It's so fun. Like just do. And
you'll like it, I promise.
And I feel like that's what happened is all these people grew up and like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then their kids are. I just like how it's not like a thing that you're getting bullied for. Right. The same thing with like technology. Like, people get stoked about the new iOS. Mm. Do you think if people in the 80s were, like, waiting outside for the new software update, they'd get punched in the face?
People were a lot harder.
But now we're like, iOS, whatever, and it's so cool. Yeah. I love it. I love it.
That's an interesting perspective on it.
Yeah, it's really neat.
I like that. I hadn't really thought about that. It's true. It is a lot of quote-unquote nerdy things are very popular. Video games,
I think the only thing is a lot of people who are into that's like their identity. So maybe they're feeling robbed. But fuck you. Get an identity. I don't know what to tell you.
Get an identity. Just go to a coffee shop and stand.
And just stare mindlessly.
Blankly into space.
It's amazing.
Okay. I think that's a great place to wrap.
Awesome,
we've done
yeah.
55 minutes. Colin, thank you for coming on.
Hey, thanks, man. This was fun.
Of course, I'll put up the clips and the audio only soon. Got to work through the backlog stuff first,
Absolutely.
but yeah, it will all be coming out soon. Good luck to everybody on the rest of their day, and we'll see you folks.
Bye.
Regular folks.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.